Hey there, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware here with the Google Pixel XL. Built by HTC but designed and sold as a phone by Google, this is Google's latest flagship Android device, 5.5 inches, 128 gigabytes of storage, and yes, this is the very silver variant. Built with brushed aluminum and some seriously beveled edges for a contoured look, the Pixel XL definitely has some HTC design influence, but also a look and aesthetic very much Google's own as well. Is the Pixel XL a worthy successor to the venerable Nexus flagships of the previous generation? Stay with us and find out. The Google Pixel XL sports a 5.5-inch QHD AMOLED display with a native resolution of 2560 by 1440 and a 534 ppi pixel density. It's also strapped with 2.5D Corning Gorilla Glass 4. Also on board is a Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 processor with 4 GB of LPDDR4 RAM, 32 or 128 gigabytes of storage, no 64 gig option there, and a 3,450 milliamp hour battery. And of course, the Pixel XL is one of the very few devices on the market sporting Android 7.1.1, otherwise known as Nougat. On back is a 12.3 megapixel shooter with LED flash, phase detection autofocus, and laser detection autofocus, and an f2.0 aperture. And you also may have noticed this white glass top area, which does a nice job of accentuating the fingerprint reader that you see here, giving you a little bit more of a guide of where to put your finger on the back of the device. A little bit concerned about scratching and cracks in this area. Haven't seen any problems yet, but it just seems like it could be prone to that. However, the fingerprint reader, as you will see, does a really nice job once I just lay my finger on, once it's trained, to just unlock the device right away. Taking a quick walk around on the right side here, you've got your standard screen lock power button and volume rocker combination. Again, nicely beveled, contoured edges here. On bottom, you've got a standard USB-C port, which is also USB 3 compatible, and what looks like a pair of speaker ports, but actually is a single speaker inside the phone. I guess they must have cut two slits in here for balance, just from a design standpoint. I will tell you that the actual audio output, the quality that comes out of that speaker, is actually pretty darn good. Not bad for a smartphone. It has a little bit more openness and a little bit more bottom end than your average smartphone speaker. And finally, on the left edge here, you've got your standard nano SIM card slot. This is not a combo nano SIM and micro SD card tray for expandable storage, unfortunately, but you do get a standard 128 gigabyte option available for high density storage with the Google Pixel XL, and that is in fact the model you're looking at here. And thankfully, our friends at Google have not decided to get rid of the headphone jack just yet. But let's talk about that AMOLED display. Yes, all the gobs of saturation, great contrast, and brightness that you've come to expect from AMOLED display technology. No question about it. However, maybe not quite the punch and pop and brightness of Samsung's Super AMOLED display technology found in the Galaxy S7 and Galaxy S6 line of smartphones, but actually still very much a quality display. Again, really nice, bright, vibrant colors, as you can see here. Occasionally, maybe in terms of accuracy, a little bit too oversaturated in spots, but regardless, you will not be disappointed by this display. Again, doesn't quite hold up in bright sunlight as well as Samsung's OLED display technology, but again, a very respectable display for this flagship device by Google. And of course, with Android 7.1.1 and the Google Pixel XL, you get the new Google Assistant, which I will demo for you now. As you will see, it unlocks the phone as well if you have it set to do so. Okay, Google. What's the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
African or European?
Okay, Google. A European swallow.
About 24 miles per hour, but significantly slower when carrying coconut shells.
I wonder if that's Monty Python approved. Well, close enough. Okay, Google. Where's the nearest place to get a quality slice of pizza?
I found a few places within 6.4 miles.
As you can see, you get Google Now integration as well as Google Maps. So a nice setup here and a fairly well-appointed AI, if you will, that understands certain things in context, as well as provides search results and other information directly for you in sort of a dictionary or encyclopedia manner. Let's see if it understands some other, a little bit more conversational type stuff. Okay, Google, I can't hear you.
Do you have headphones plugged in? Is the volume turned all the way down?
Okay, Google, I can hear you now.
That's good.
Okay, Google, what's your favorite color?
I like simultaneously thinking about every color at once, but mostly I love Google's colors.
That makes sense. And of course, there's Daydream View, which is an optional $79 accessory to go with the Pixel XL or Pixel phones from Google. It is Google's answer to Samsung Gear VR, if you will, and it's a little bit nicer setup. It's actually a cloth headset that feels a little bit more natural, perhaps a little bit more comfortable. It's very cushy with an adjustable strap here. And also, Google went one step further. Obviously, this is all built and developed by Google. There is an entire ecosystem of Daydream approved apps and content, which is still obviously fledgling and expanding, but it's all controlled and developed and brought to market by Google. So Daydream View and Daydream Ready apps and content to actually get into the device and use it. You just pop that little tether, and here is the remote. You just slide it out of its little bungee cord there, and it's a 5-button remote with a volume rocker on the side edge here, and 3 buttons on the top for power and different controls, and then this little sort of trackpad area for your thumb. Think of this as like a glorified laser pointer. It doesn't give you near the control of, say, an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift controller, but it does help with pointing and selecting different items and menus in VR apps. And although the library is currently limited, there is a fair amount of impressive and entertaining VR content that Google has out currently for Daydream. You've got everything from exploration type apps like Hello Mars to games like Need for Speed, No Limits VR, and NFL Immersion. The list kind of goes on. There's even a YouTube VR app, which is really cool. You can jump right into VR YouTube content, a limited library of VR content for YouTube. Here's an example of some YouTube 360 VR content. This is the Blue Angels VR video that was shot about a year ago, and it's actually pretty impressive. You're actually in the cockpit of a Blue Angels US Navy fighter jet and doing the maneuvers with the team. It's pretty impressive to see. Strap on Google Daydream View and strap into the cockpit of a Blue Angels fighter jet. So pretty cool stuff. Now, in terms of camera performance, that rear 12.3 megapixel shooter in the Pixel XL can deliver impressive results with not a lot of fuss and muss. And it's a very basic Android camera app in the Nougat OS that doesn't have any fancy fully manual modes or anything like that, just some basic modes like panoramic and auto HDR and HDR modes. But it's what you can do with this camera on the fly, just pulling it out and hitting the shutter button, that's so impressive. Still images have what I would call a natural level of saturation, perhaps not quite as well saturated as perhaps what you produce with a Galaxy S7 or maybe an iPhone 7, but the quality of imagery, again, is just balanced and natural in terms of color, and contrast, and crispness. There's just an accuracy about this camera that's impressive. Whether it is in indoor settings in low light, where we saw very little grain, or outdoor settings in bright light, or challenging settings with indoors and outside light coming through a window that have varying degrees of contrast. This camera really responded very well in lots of different modes and settings and just delivered quality results across the board. And in HD video action, you can shoot up to 4K, 30 frames per second, but 1080p shooting proved to be very satisfying as well with good image stabilization, even in fast-moving action like this. And in terms of performance, whether it be just everyday use, browsing the web or what have you, or gaming performance like you see here in GFX Bench, the Google Pixel XL excels with its Snapdragon 821 processor, which is essentially a slightly goosed up version of the original Snapdragon 820 with a little bit higher end clock speeds. So really good performance, some of the best numbers we've seen from an Android handset yet. and you really can't go wrong in that department with this device. And with respect to battery life, we expect the Pixel XL to handle pretty well in that regard. 3,450 milliamp hour battery, the intrinsic benefits of Android 7 Nougat with advanced doze capabilities for standby and sleep states. So we expect it to perform pretty well, but we haven't completed a full benchmark test suite on it yet in that regard. We would offer in general terms mixed mode usage, no problem getting through a full day on a single charge with this device. The average user should not have a problem there at all. Pricing, $649 for the 32 gig variant unlocked, or $749 for the 128 gig version that you see here. So definitely a premium priced handset, but also a premium appointed handset with lots of cutting edge features and certainly even, of course, Google Daydream VR support. So make sure you stop by HotHardware for our full review with all the benchmark details and analysis. I'm Dave Altavilla for HotHardware here with the Google Pixel XL. Toss in a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this video, and thanks for stopping by.